Everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Journey to Legacy podcast. My name is Wayne Veldsman. My guest today is Mr. Nathan Baws, a serial entrepreneur, someone who is serious and in love with business. This interview was a lot of fun for me, actually. I think we talked about 3 or 4, maybe 5 different businesses that Nathan has ran and is currently running today. He's going to talk to you all about actually how you should be focused on one business at a time, but how you can laterally expand to be focused on tons of different pieces of the business at the same time. A lot of the mindset that goes behind that. He actually started his first business at 6 years old and has a super entertaining story about how it came about. I know you all are going to really enjoy it. So let's hop on into this episode with Mr. Nathan Baws. Nathan, how are you?
Excellent. How are you, Wayne?
I am excellent as well, my friend. Nathan, kick us off. Tell everybody, what are you up to a little bit just today? Something about yourself.
Today and about myself. Oh, it's been a bit of a crazy day today. A bunch of different podcasts today and working on a few different businesses as well, a couple of startups. So it's a bit of a jam-packed day trying to fit it all in, but it's fun. It's the stuff that I love.
Nice. I like it. Podcast today, working on businesses today. I mean, overarching, I think it's an understatement to describe you as a business guy. What do you think?
There's a little bit involved there for sure. Yeah, so it's a bit of a juggle, but you know, when you love something, when you're passionate about it, it becomes fun. It's not a job. It's just, you know, what you want to do. Gets you up in the morning and puts you to bed late, and you don't mind doing it if you enjoy what you're doing. Yeah.
Amazing. And so just for everybody out there, right, Nathan, you've started, I mean, how many businesses would you guess? At least 10, 15?
15, yeah. So 15 businesses in the last 44 years. And started my first one when I was 6. So since then, it's been across a bunch of different categories and the different industries. And I just find it's just more interesting. It keeps, I don't know, maybe I'm slightly ADD or maybe I'm very ADD. I'm not too sure, but it's satisfying to build and create. I find it's how I get my joy out of life. So everyone's got their thing. Business is certainly mine.
Everybody does. Business is yours. You know, a question right off the gate for you. Do you think it's better to focus in on building just one thing at a time, or is it okay to sort of split our focus and build multiple all at once?
Very good question. And I often remind myself or bring that subject up because look, you can very easily diffuse your focus. It is very, very easy to do that. For me, I've had a bit of a struggle where I've over the years had that as an issue. It's like, no, I've got to keep focused on one thing. I built my first business in the health industry, and I had 3 health shops, and I created a supplement brand that I sold across Australia. And that, to me, there was a lot of focus there. And then I got to the point I was doing 7 days a week, which I do in pretty much all the time. But I got to the stage where I thought, all right, enough is enough. That I'm totally saturated in that business. So I sold it. I had a 7-figure exit, and I was in my early 20s, and I had to try something new. So now I'm at peace with the fact that I need that in my life. I need that variety. I need that stimulation. That's where I get, I'm not into going out and enjoying, never really done the recreational pursuits too much. So for me, that's where I get my interest from, and my joy and my variety is in dealing with a bunch of different people, different teams, different industries. And it just feels right. And I'm not fighting it anymore, because in the early days, It was always, no, you need to focus, you narrow, you focus down
Yeah.
and grow that business. So now I've got teams in place, which is just allows me to have my variety in my life without going too stagnant.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
like it. So today you said, to keep your interest sparked, right? And you're
Mhm.
able to move fast and forward quickly because you have teams that are allocated. But it also sounds like you said your first business, the health shops, grew pretty fast, huge exit.
Mm.
But at that time, that was your only focus?
Correct. Yeah. But I mean, even there, always try and find little avenues that we can go down to expand different aspects of the business. So, first of all, I was in pharmacy and I was consulting for pharmacies, and I set up 8 different naturopathic clinics across a range of different pharmacies. And it was fantastic. I had a great mentor who is just a phenomenal pharmacist and an amazing businessman. And I just for 8 years, I've just absorbed all his skill set in negotiations and sales and marketing and all that good stuff that you need to get off the ground. So after that, working for him for a long time, I started a little side business and in the health, set up a health shop, and then moved it into a bigger premises, and then that just went absolutely crazy. I became the biggest supplement purchaser in Australia,
Wow.
across pharmacy and health shops in the 2 biggest brands at the time in the marketplace.
Wow.
And the sales per square meter were the highest in Australia. And this is in a tiny little shop in Fremantle. I don't know if not many people know of it, but so yeah, in the middle of nowhere in Perth. Perth in Western Australia is one of the smallest states per capita. So it was pretty exciting times to be able to grow a tiny little business and have it just pumping out products, which was just so much fun.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And so it's almost like at that time to satisfy not your boredom, but you said maybe you're a little ADD. You're very ADD. You were doing pivots within the business, right?
Yeah.
Still the one focus, but inside, right?
Yeah, and that's what that's what I try and do in every business is just expand the product range so that we can get the lowest hanging fruit, and scale a business as quickly as possible. So for that business, it was a question of opening one business, one health shop, which did incredibly well, and then I opened the second health shop, and then I opened the third health shop, and then I thought, okay, what's the next step? And the next step was, okay, let's look at our product range. So I started looking internally and finding our best-selling products, and then I went out and started manufacturing those products myself. And we ended up doing a fish oil capsule, which had a unique USP, and we had a glucosamine and a bunch of other different natural supplements that we got manufactured, took them through the TGA, which is like the FDA in America, and then started selling in my stores, and then found that I could get some really juicy margins.
Nice.
And what I would do is, because we were one of the biggest, or actually the biggest for 5 years, buyers of, as I say, the 2 biggest brands, which were Blackmores and Nature's Own back then. So I would position my products right next to the best-selling products in the market,
Yeah.
and I would say to my customers, well, obviously you can have the brand leader or you can have this one, and the difference
Yeah.
is blah 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 blah. And
Nice.
obviously I created my products always to be better than in my mind anyway, better than
Of course.
the brand leaders, and people would make that natural purchasing choice of coming across to my brand. So that went really well. So I found, all right, what's the next step after that? And the next step was to share those products with other health shops and pharmacies around Australia. So I did a bit of a road show and took it around Australia and sold it to health shops and pharmacies. So
Love it. Love
yeah.
it. So went from actually, of course, your formal education, right, to then go into the health space, to opening up 1 and then 2 and then 3 stores, then actually developing your own product in house, right? And
Yeah.
then deciding, wow, these margins are great. Let's push this. I love how you say that you've also positioned yourself right beside the sort of leader, right, in that space, and then could easily show people how you were differentiated and how you were a little bit better. So
Yeah.
I just want to make sure everybody that's listening is hearing this, that you don't need to, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think you shouldn't try and have multiple businesses early in your career. Instead, look at how you can expand inside. I mean, is that a tip? Is that advice
Absolutely.
that you would give?
100%. Yeah, 100%. I mean, knowing your industry inside out, you'll be able to find the opportunities so much more better, so much better. You know your customers, what they want, you know your suppliers, what you can get. So it's just, how can you think more laterally? How can we expand laterally our product range and our offering? And for example, in one of my businesses now, I have a brand which is called Tommy Sugo, which I was on Shark Tank with a little while ago. And that's a pasta manufacturing business. We initially started at farmers markets and doing just direct sales to the public. Then, following that same process of lateral expansion, I went into restaurants, and I opened up my first restaurant, and that did quite well. And then I opened up two more restaurants, and they didn't do so well. So, so then, to support some restaurants that weren't going so well, I thought, well, what's the next step? How can we expand that lateral domination a little bit further? And I went into the space of pop-up shops. So I started running pop-up shops in shopping centers, and they started doing really, really well. So I expanded to, I was running 5 pop-up shops full-time, plus 3 restaurants and 2 markets all at the same time. And then what was the next step? So it was wholesale. So we started opening up in a small way to wholesale and offering other supermarkets our product. We then expanded further into fundraising. So now we do a ton of fundraising for schools, clubs, charities, using our products. So it's an absolutely lovely field to be in, because it gives you all this, community involvement and love helping other businesses and schools, etc., to fundraise with our products. And it's an absolutely amazing JV structure that you do.
How does that that work though, right? I mean, great. So Tommy Sugo, you said it's this pasta manufacturers, you said, but it's so quick serve, cook at home products, right? And I
Correct.
love
Yeah.
this lateral expansion. I appreciate you giving all these examples for the business that you're busy growing. I'm curious now here towards the end of this lateral expansion. Now you're talking a little bit about fundraising. How does that work? How are you helping fundraising with a pasta company?
Yeah, so fundraising is a great, as I say, it's just a fantastic little niche to be in. And I think there's not too many businesses that you can't do it in some aspect. So it was about, initially, I was trying to find joint venture opportunities that we could tap into other databases, existing databases with scale. So it was really about, all right, well, what databases, what type of category of businesses would be interested in the products that we have to offer? And schools obviously popped up because every parent is busy, racing around with their kids and wants some quick, easy meals. Schools tick the box because in a school you might have anywhere between 200 and 1,000 people. And of course, it's an absolute win-win scenario. So you can offer your product to a school, they get to sell it, they get a percentage of all the sales, and we get this amazing brand exposure. So what we found out of that was that we would take it to the schools, we'd do a fundraiser for 8 weeks. We would take care of everything. And this is another really important lesson that I've learned along the way. The easier we can make it for our customers, obviously, the better our sales are going to be. It just skyrockets after that. So we've set up a completely done for you fundraising platform, which means that we provide everything the customer needs. So what the feedback was from our family, our school families, was like, they want to do fundraising, but everyone's too busy to do a sausage sizzle, and we don't get much participation from the parents. They all want to raise funds. They all have that goodwill nature, but they're just too bloody busy.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. So with ours, it's like, all right, well, let's find a solution to that big problem. So we created a completely done for you fundraiser. So we created a URL, an order form. We customized that for the school. We brand it for the school, club, or charity. And then they share that with their database, and any orders that come through that, they get a percentage of the sales, and we fulfill all the logistics. So they don't have to do they don't have to lift a finger other than share the URL, the order form.
Nice.
And of course, there's a lot of happy parents out there that that resonates with. So yeah, so we did that, and then we found that the uptake was strong, and then it has some beautiful flow-on effects when people see us in the shopping centres around the schools that we've done pop-ups in. They'll come in, they go, "Oh, you were the guys that did the fundraising with us. Yeah, thank you so much for the support, and love to buy some products." And of course, it's just a win-win scenario.
That is so interesting to hear, Nathan. I love this strategy, this perspective. It's kind of a shift, right, of how a lot of people do business, because you're really helping, right? You're making a big impact on these schools, helping them fundraise, like you said, these clubs to fundraise.
Yep.
But at the same time, of course, it's super beneficial to you all because it's getting you more exposure, right? More brand recognition. You are almost indirectly getting free future customers, right? Is that sort of
100%.
your mindset from the
100%.
beginning?
Yeah. And it's a very low risk strategy. So there's very minimal costs in setting it up. Some fundraisers don't work. Some schools don't really share the links or whatever. So, and then you get the opposite where others just like go crazy with it. So it's a low risk strategy. It's amazing for brand recognition and brand exposure. I like doing things that have low risk. I've done things with high risk, and haven't done too well in the past as well. So now I take a more calculated view, minimize my outlays, and joint ventures are just so good for scaling your business, tapping into great databases, not that are non-competing. So they get excited, they benefit, we benefit, and there's no sort of clashing in the middle. So it works really well.
The benefit, no clashing in the middle. Let's stick on this here just for a second, right? You're talking about joint ventures, which is essentially the benefit, but you're getting to use somebody else's audience, right?
Correct.
A lot of times somebody else's email list is an easy way to think about it, right?
Correct.
How can people that are listening try and think about starting a joint venture strategy of their own? Like, where do you even start?
Finding similar users. So that's the key. So you want to look at your product and who it appeals to. The people that it appeal to, your target customer, are going to like different things. So for example, our product in Tommy Sugo, it's a high-end product. So it's a really high quality product. It's not the cheap, nasty stuff in the supermarket. So we know that it appeals to an affluent sort of customer. So that customer is going to be more aligned with schools that are in more affluent areas. The kids with schools in more affluent areas, they're going to be aligned with the more expensive things in life, perhaps, the Mercedes and the BMWs and things like that. So, that's other areas that you can tap into. And, if you've got a product high end, you might want to look at where your customers also shop. and start reaching out to those peripheral businesses that have your same ideal target customer, and offer something that is, I mean, everything's about the offer. If your offer is strong, you're going to be loved by your companion joint venturing partner. So if you've got an amazing thing that makes them look good, for example, if you can afford to give a product away, a free sample or a significant discount, then they're going to look like the good guys, and they're going to be motivated to promote your business and to give it out.
Nice.
So look for the similar buying patterns across your customer database, and then reach out to them and just sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's fine. And so of course who's your audience? What are their buying patterns, right? Interesting. You use BMW and Mercedes, right? Your customers, maybe they get BMW and Mercedes, but how, like, that wouldn't really work though in your case for a joint venture, would it? Like if you were to reach out to BMW, or could you potentially conceptualize a way for us how that could maybe work?
Yeah. So we would go to the BMW and we would say, your customers are very similar to ours. Good news is we're not selling BMWs, so we're not going to be any competition to you. How about we create some sort of a joint venture where everyone who buys buys a BMW gets a basket delivered to their home of our products. So we could talk about, would that be fully funded by us, or would there be some benefit in there from the company, the BMW car dealership, offering this as a package? We could also do that. Particularly, we work with some real estate agents, so totally unrelated, but every time they sell a property, they will get a Tommy Sugo basket of product and leave it in, or personally deliver it to the seller or to the buyer and say, here's a little housewarming gift that we can get going, and then we'll pop a little discount voucher in there for a repeat purchase. If they enjoy the product, they can do that. So yeah, it's just really a question of thinking a little bit more laterally about your business, and finding synergistic businesses or clientele where your clients go, and setting up some really, really attractive offers that are going to get them across the line, that are going to get your joint venture partners wanting to bite your arm off, trying to get hold of whatever your offer is that you've got for them.
Nice. Find those synergies and then create a really strong offer that the joint venture partners are going to love, right? The huge benefit for them. Man,
correct.
Nathan, our time's already flying. I can't believe we're going to have to do this again in the future. Let's rewind back here, right? You said you got into business, your first business at 6 years old. Tell us a little bit about young Nathan. What happened? How'd you get into that in the first place?
Funny story. I was at my cousin's house, and who lives on a farm. And at 6 years old, I realized we were eating a considerable amount of potatoes. Okay, so and I understood the concept behind potatoes, that single mum and really no money, and potatoes very cheap. So I was at my cousin's farm, and I was staying over there for a week, and I said to my cousin, hey, Jerem, by the end of this week, I want to make some money. This is at 6 years old. And I said, mate, I'm sick of eating potatoes. I reckon if I could just make some money, I could be able to help mum pay for some food, and we could get something a little bit more, a bit of variety in our diet. And he said, yeah, I'm in for it. Let's make some money. So as a 6-year-old, we sort of looked around, and we're sort of wondering, well, how do you make money? We had no idea. So his dad was a bit of a fan of beer, and he had all these beer bottles around the farm, just on the ground. And back then, the beer cans, the lids of the beer bottles, they're little sort of round things, and they kind of reminded us of coins. So we thought, genius, why don't we we're here to make money. So maybe if we got some of those little lids, maybe we could make money out of that.
Literally.
Literally make money out of that. So as a 6-year-old, what the heck do you know? So so we got a permanent texture and we wrote 20 cents on them, and then we sat there for a while and thinking and then realized, nah, it's probably not how people make money in life. So we thought, well, look, what else can we do? As a 6-year-old, we don't have too many skills. I said, Jerem, what are you good at? And he said, oh, I can kick the football pretty well. I said, yeah, I can't think of a way of making any money out of that. So I said, what are we good at? And then it dawned on me, I was great at making paper aeroplanes. So I thought, well, let's set up a paper aeroplane shop. Genius idea. So we're in rural West Swan, which is back 44 years ago. There was no one around. It's farmland. He was on a remote road, but we thought, anyway, we'll set up a business out the front of the paddock on the side of the road, and we set up some trestle tables and built a whole bunch of aeroplanes and put them on there, and we waited for the hordes of customers to rush in.
Sure.
And I remember sitting there and going, yeah, we haven't seen a car for about the last hour, and how are we going to scale this? How are we going to grow this business? And I said, Jerem, I've got it, mate. What we need is somewhere to put the cash when it all comes in. We need a huge sort of barrel. That's the problem. That's where we're going wrong. So he disappeared back into the back paddock and brought out a wheelbarrow, and he said, I've got it sorted. Don't worry, we're set. I've just scraped all the manure off this wheelbarrow, and we can put all the money in there. We're good to go. So we sat there for another 2 hours, and over that time, 2 cars passed by and didn't even have the audacity to stop and buy one of our paper aeroplanes. So how dare they? So that was my first business venture, and I learned a lot from that. I learned about signage and customer traffic flow, and we didn't have any signage, so we expected people to know this stuff. But learned a lot, and now to this day, I love signage. I love communicating with my customers, and I don't think you can over communicate. So I've learned. Learn a lot of lessons from that, and finding your skill set and utilizing your skills as much as you can. So.
Amazing, Nathan. That is, what a great story. Thank you for sharing. As we sort of start to run out of time here, unfortunately, I think the story relates to some key lessons that I asked you prior to the interview, and then also some other learnings here. The first one I just want to bring up is that everybody's listening, use what you're good at already, right? You guys sat there and thought, what are our skills? I can kick the football. How can I make money like that? I don't really know, right? And you said, well, I'm great at making paper airplanes. Beautiful. Let's make some, let's sell it. A lot of times people overthink, right? Overcomplicate coming up with an idea. Just think about what you're good at. But then what I want to ask you here is a big key lesson is about not giving up, right? Not throwing in the towel and learning from it. Tell us a little about that and how that relates to your paper airplane business.
Absolutely, learning from it. We learned very quickly that you need customers. There needs to be human life forms around. Otherwise, it doesn't matter how good your product is, you're not going to sell much. So it's, I guess, the question of the McDonald's burgers. They don't have the world's best burger, but they're probably one of the world's best marketing machines. So you need the customers, you need to be able to get the message out there, and you need to be able to market it. And that's been a big learning curve for me. So that business didn't pan out too well at 6 years old, but I think knowing when to stop is key as well. If you're just pushing crap uphill for years after years after years and you're not getting anywhere, and I've had to do this in business, in my restaurant businesses, I was losing a lot of money, and knowing when to stop is really, really important. Knowing when to cut that umbilical cord and go the other way, and having an ego that will accept that is also really, really important. But as you say, Wayne, it's not about throwing in the towel. It's about making smart decisions and then utilizing that skill set and bringing it forward into the next venture, whatever that is. If you just throw in the towel, you are completely stealing from yourself. You're completely robbing yourself of opportunity, of learning curves. And if you can utilize those learning curves and put them forward into the next business, or tweak your business, or modify certain aspects so that you're not repeating the same thing and expecting a better or different outcome. As we know, that's the definition of insanity. Then moving forwards, learning those lessons and putting them into place is one of the most valuable assets and lessons you'll ever learn out of life. So that's what I'm really, really conscious of doing. I never want failure to stop me. I want to reinterpret that failure as a benefit and a lesson that we can get out of it.
All right. Be self-aware. Don't let your ego get in your way. Know if you need to cut the cord on something, but don't let that mean that you're quitting, that you're giving up, right? Use what you learn to keep going, or else, as you said, you rob yourself of all those learnings, all of those benefits you can see from it.
100%. Yeah, so important. And I think people just go very quickly, I tried that. I tried business. It wasn't for me. Instead of saying, learned some fantastic lessons there. Wow. What am I going to do in the next venture?
There's the key. Yeah. There's the key. Nathan, we have about a minute left, and I always just like to end the podcast talking a little bit about legacy. And so I'm curious for you what legacy means and what the legacy is that you want to leave on this world.
So if I can, for my kids, legacy-wise, I'd love to leave the lessons that I've learned along the way for speeding up the process. So if I can sort of bring them, if they choose to go into the business world, which I'd love them to, no pressure. So the legacy for them would be to sort of fast track their learning experience, minimize their learning curves. For the rest of the world, I think if I can add value to people's lives, if I can, I love the idea of helping other businesses. And as a matter of fact, we're in the process of setting up something that works on working with other businesses and sort of helping them fast track a little bit. So yeah, if we can make the journey a little bit smoother and fun. I love the idea of working, with all my different business partners and having fun, because if you're not having fun, you're just wasting life.
And that's a wrap. What a great ending to the show, right? That the legacy that Nathan wants to leave is helping others and having fun while doing it. Showing people that you can have fun in business, wanting actually to help his daughters learn from his failures, right? Help set them up so that they can have sort of an unfair advantage when it comes to business. And as we know, that equates to a lot of life principles as well. So thank you all for tuning in today. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed the episode, please share the podcast. Help us to grow the Journey to Legacy community. Please share it with a friend, a family member, a colleague, anyone and everyone who you think can benefit from this message today. Until next time, thanks again for tuning in. My name is Wayne Veldsman. You've been listening to the Journey to Legacy podcast.